Chapter 18. Pensions and Gratuity. Content 1. Purpose 2. Definition of terms 3. Application of the provisions of the Pension Act number 102 of 1979 4. Statutory age of retirement 5. Notice of withdrawal or retirement 6. Qualifying service for pension and gratuity 7. Death gratuity 8. Minimum and maximum pension payable 9. Death gratuity in course of service 10. Tutorial 11. Definition of a child 12. Transfer of service 13. Measure of service 14. Minimum years for collecting pension 15. Non-pensionable service 16. Pension and gratuity. Table application with effect from 1st of June 1992. 17. General information. 18. Pension Reform Act 2004. 19. Chapter review. 20. Worked page examples. Pensions and gratuity. Purpose. After studying this chapter, readers should be able to A. Explain the concepts of pension and gratuity. B. List the conditions for granting retirement benefits. C. Discuss the provisions of Pensions Act 1979 as updated. D. Identify major pension regulatory bodies and their respective functions. E. Compute retirement benefits from relevant information. Definition of terms. A. Pension. It is a monthly payment made to a retired officer who has served for a statutory period. Pension is payable for a minimum period of 5 years or till death. B. Gratuity. It is a lump sum of money paid once to a retired officer who has served for the minimum of 5 years in service. C. Pensionable emolument. It is the gross salary, that is, basic salary and allowances, attached to a retiring officer's substantive rank. D. Withdrawal of service. This is the cessation of service after an officer has served for a minimum period of 5 years, but below 10 years, qualifying him only for gratuity. E. Retirement. It is the cessation of service after an officer has served for a minimum of 10 years, qualifying the person for gratuity and pension. F. Qualifying service. Means service after an officer has served for a period of not less than the minimum qualifying years, which is 5 years for gratuity and 10 years for gratuity and pension. Qualifying service determines the qualification or otherwise of the person for pension and gratuity. G. Next of kin. Means those persons whose names were furnished by the deceased officer on his record of service kept in the records office of the establishment or furnished by him to the ministry in writing at any time before his death. H. Public service. Means any service or employment under the government of the Federation in a civil position, as recognized as such by the establishment. It shall include employment declared as approved service by the Pension Act as updated. Application of the provisions of the Pensions Act number 102 of 1979. Conditions for granting retirement benefits. The conditions for granting retirement benefits may be listed as follows. A. On voluntary retirement after a qualifying service of 10 years. B. On compulsory retirement for the purpose of facilitating improvement in the department or ministry. C. On compulsory retirement upon attaining the retiring age of 60 years or 35 years in service, whichever comes earlier. D. On total or permanent disablement while in service. E. public interest. F. Abolition of office, e.g. for the reasons of reorganization and redundancy. Statutory age of retirement. All officers shall retire on reaching the age of 60 years or having served for 35 years in service, whichever comes earlier. But an officer may be retired at any time on reaching the minimum age of 50 years, subject to 3 months' notice in writing or 3 months' salary in lieu of notice being paid. Notice of withdrawal or retirement. Officers who have served for less than 10 years give 1 month notice or pay a month's salary in lieu. Those who have put in 10 years or more years service give 3 months notice or pay 3 months salaries in lieu of notice. Qualifying service for pension and gratuity. A. For gratuity, the officer must serve for minimum of but not up to 10 years, 5 years. B. For gratuity and pension, the officer must serve for at least 10 years. Pension is payable when the retiring officer reaches the age of 50 years, with the exception of ill health or compulsory retirement of officer in the public interest, when pension becomes payable immediately without the officer reaching the age of 50 years. C. War services are in connection with the internal security, maintenance of law and order. Between 27 May 1967 and 15 May 1970, and other services as may be declared by the President of Nigeria. The Armed Forces Act 103 of 1979. Under the Armed Forces Act number 103 of 1979, quoted above, the considerations are: A. Each completed years of war service shall account as 2 years. B. Period of war service exceeding 4 months but below 6 months is counted as 6 months. C. Period of war service below 4 months is counted as 6 months. D. Period of war service exceeding 6 months is counted as 1 year. A period of service other than war service for a period over 6 months would be approximated to 1 year, provided the officer has served a qualifying service in the first instance. Then we are given illustrations. Minimum and maximum pension. The minimum pension payable is 6,000 per annum, while the maximum is 80% of final pay. Death gratuity in course of service. Where an officer is killed. A. Where an officer, e.g. a pilot, is killed in the course of carrying out his official duty, the following entitlement shall be paid to his next of kin as designated survivors. 1. Gratuity to which the officer would have been entitled to at the date of his death. 2. A pension for life to his widow if the officer leaves any, provided the widow remains unmarried and of good character. However, the pension should not be more than 1/3 of the deceased officer's accrued pension at the date of his death. Or B. In addition to one above, if the deceased leaves a number of children below 18 years, pension of not more than the deceased officer's 1 month pay shall be paid to each child until they attain 18 years of age. C. If the deceased officer leaves only one child below 18 years, a pension not more than 2/3 of the deceased officer's accrued pension shall be paid to the child until he reaches 18 years of age. D. If the deceased officer leaves a child or children and a widow to whom a pension is granted under one above subsequently dies, a pension in respect of each child as from the date of the death of the widow until such child attains the age of 18 years, of 1/6 of the accrued pension of the deceased officer. Limitations: A. The pension shall not be paid to more than 6 children. B. A pension granted to a female child ceases when she marries or attains 18 years, whichever comes first. C. Where the deceased officer leaves more than one widow, the minister may grant pension to one or more of such widows. However, the pension to be shared among the widows shall not be more than the one to be granted to a sole widow. Definition of a child. The Pension Act 1979, as amended, defines a child as: A. Posthumous child. B. A child born out of wedlock but whose paternity has been accepted. C. A stepchild or a child adopted in a manner recognized by law before the death of the deceased officer. Illustration: Section 173 of 1999 Constitution says pensions shall be reviewed every 5 years or together with any federal civil service salary reviews, whichever is earlier. Section 173 of the Constitution stipulates that pensions in respect of service is the public service of the Federation shall not be taxed. According to Section 84 of the 1999 Constitution, any person who has held office as President or Vice President shall be entitled to pension for life at a rate equivalent to the annual salary of the incumbent President or Vice President, provided that such a person was not removed from office by the process of impeachment or for breach of any provision of the Constitution. Section 84 of the Constitution says that any pension granted by virtue of subsection 5 of this section shall be a charge upon the consolidated revenue funds of the Federation. Transfer of service. Transfer of service. Whenever an officer moves from one government services to the other, e.g., from the federal to the state service, such officer may transfer the years he has served from the old to the new employer. However, the following conditions must be complied with. A. The transfer must be effected within 2 years. B. The normal procedure for recruitment to such appointment has to be followed, e.g., by advertisement and interview. Measure of service. This is applicable to all military organizations, and the conditions are the same with those of transfer of service. Minimum years for collecting pension. All officers who qualify for pension will enjoy it for a minimum period of 5 years. That is, where an officer dies within 5 years after retirement, his next of kin will be entitled to the same pension till the end of 5 years from the date of his retirement. For example, when an officer retired in 1990 and died in 1993, his survivor will be entitled to his pension for the years 1994 and 1995. This may, however, be paid en bloc, monthly, or annually. Non-pensionable service. A. Where an officer joins service before the age of 15 years, all the years he has served before reaching 15 years of age shall not be recognized for computation of his pension or gratuity. B. Where an officer was absent from duty or was on leave without pay, except prior permission has been received from the minister, such period will be regarded as non-pensionable. Then we assured pension and gratuity, table applicable with effect. General information. Medical certificate. Every pensioner has to obtain a medical certificate from a government medical doctor confirming that he is alive and physically fit. This must be submitted before the first payment of the pension is effected in the new year. Arrears. Pension are paid in arrears, either monthly, quarterly, or yearly. C. Qualifying age. Qualifying year for pension is recorded when the employee attains the age of 15 years. If an employee joins the government service before attaining that year, the period he served previously will not be taken into consideration in computing the qualifying age for his retirement. D. Processing retirement documents. If an employee worked for the three tiers of government, federal, local, and state, the retirement benefits will be collected from his last office. E. Sharing of retirement benefits liability. If an employee works for different arms of government, e.g., for federal, state, and local government council, the retirement benefit liability will be shared among the three tiers in the proportion of length of service. F. Continuity of service. Only continuous and unbroken service shall be taken into account as qualifying service, so that any break caused by a temporary suspension from employment not arising from misconduct may be disregarded for the purposes of the calculation of qualifying services. Chapter Review. Pension Reform Act of 2004 introduced improvements in the management of pension funds, both in the public and private sectors. The Act established a uniform management of pension funds for the two sectors. The old Pension Act is, however, still applicable to workers who have 3 years to retire. Worked examples. 1A. Distinguish between pension and gratuity. Suggested solutions. 1. Pension. Pension can be defined as a periodic payment made by an employer to his retired employee until his or her death, in consideration of past services rendered by the former employee. It is a payment made to a person who is no longer working and which will enable the former employee live and enjoy some of all of the essentials and non-essentials he was able to afford during his working life. Formerly, an officer was entitled to pension after serving a minimum of 10 years and he had attained the age of 45 years. Gratuity. This is a lump sum payable to a retiring officer who has served for a minimum period of 5 years.